Everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you today to our Friday Sri Navidya adult class. It's so lovely to see so many people present today. We hope you all had a very pleasant Diwali and New Year. So tonight we're going to continue with our in conversation talks with a very special person. I think everyone will know him here today as he's a very popular person. But before we start, let's start with the Navka mantra. So let me pass over to Hinabin to start the Navka mantra. Thank you, Hinabin.
Om Namo Arhantanam. Om Namo Sitanam. Arhanto ko naman hai, Shri Sito ka sumiran hai. Om Namo Ariyanam. Om Namo Chayanam. Namo Loe Savasahu Nam. Eso Pancha Namokaro. Sab pav panasano mangalanancha sauvesim padmam pavai mangalam padmam pavai mangalam.
Thank you, Hinabin. That was really nice. So tonight we are extremely privileged, honored and grateful to have with us today Dr. Vinodbhai Kapashi, OBE. So before we start, a very short intro before I pass over to Hinabin to conduct the interview. Dr. Vinodbhai was a civil engineer by profession. He retired early to devote his time to social, religious and other charitable activities. He has had so many other roles after retiring. He has absolute deep knowledge of Jainism, and he's a very passionate practitioner of what he teaches. He is known to be very gentle yet humble and always approachable. And anybody that comes into his space finds an instant connection and fondness with him. Vinodbhai is admired for his work in providing the Kenton derasar as a place of worship, the focal point of the wider Jain community. He is the founder, trustee of Mavi Foundation. Vinodbhai has written many Jain books and was awarded the prestigious title of OBE in the Queen's Honours List in 2018. So let me stop there and pass over to Hinabin to conduct the interview. Please kindly stay muted at all times, and if there are any questions, please post them on the chat and we'll try to answer them at some point. Thank you so much. Thank you, Hinabin.
Thank you, Jitendra Bhai. Just to add to what you said, I feel really privileged to do this interview. I can't believe that I am doing this. I met Vinodbhai around 15 years back at Kenton derasar when he was teaching us. I was a student and I did not know the meaning of Navka mantra, which I learned it off him. Also, he taught us Uvasagaram Stotra. And the way he was teaching and the deep knowledge of Jainism, I couldn't believe it that I am interviewing the same person today. So really happy to do this. And let's go to Vinodbhai. Vinodbhai, welcome. And I would just like to start you off with about your childhood. Where were you born and about your parents? If you could please let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Hinabin. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thanks for the introduction. And I think there's a background noise from YouTube, maybe. Thanks for the introduction. I too feel privileged that I'm with you all people, Right. Starting from my childhood, isn't it? Yeah. I was born in India, the state of Gujarat, in a village called Chuda. Of course, when I say village, it wasn't very small village or something like that. But that is where I was born. I was brought up in that place. My father and mother were living there. I was the youngest child. That is about it. That is what I remember about Chuda. There are other memories and other things, but we left that place after India got independence. And I'll talk about that as we go along. But that's where I was born, yeah, and I was brought up there as well. Sorry for the. Yeah.
Fine.
Inabe.
Vinodbhai, as often we say that sanskaras are formed during childhood. Did your interest in Jainism occur due to your family background and since a young age?
It's very difficult to say and very difficult to answer. Family background. My father wasn't a very religious person, but he was a literary person, having good moral values. And we had more than 2,000 books in our house. In that village, in Chuda, we had about 2,000 books. What happened? When I was 1.5 years old, my mother died. And I was the youngest child. I can say that I wasn't properly looked after. It's not fault of my father or not anyone's fault. The life was like that. And there was no one in the house. My father was very busy in his job. He was one of the key persons in that small kingdom of Judah, serving under the king. So he was a very busy person, looking after the revenue of that place. I slowly grew up. We had a cook in our house. The cook used to cook meals for us, myself, my elder brother, one elder sister. We just we grew up, yeah, in that surroundings. And as soon as I started learning, reading, writing Gujarati, the first thing I started was reading those books. By the time I was 15 years old, I had read almost all books. So I can always say that I was raised by the books. Books are my guru. And these books, they were not the books of Jainism. There were some books about the Jain philosophy, about the Jain personalities, and other things. But most of the books were some novels, fiction, some books were the biographies, and some were just Hindu religious books like Upanishads and Vedas and Ramayana and Mahabharata and Puranas, everything. So I read everything. And I took interest in each and every subject. In those 2,000 books, there are quite a few story books, novels, not only Gujarati novels, but French classics, English classics, Bengali classics, Marathi ones, all translated in Gujarati, of course. And I was very much impressed by these books. I still remember quite a few titles. I can mention few. Les Miserables, Victor Hugo's, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Oliver Twist, of course, and David Copperfield, and books, Hamlet, and other books like from Shakespeare. So I read each and every book. And my knowledge, especially general knowledge, increased. And I'm so glad that I take interest in everything. I know a little bit about everything. If someone asks me a question about, say, Indian classical dances, I can speak for 15, 20 minutes. So if someone asks me about the astrology, I can say something about that. So that is how I gained general knowledge. So in answer to your question, it wasn't a proper Jain background, just literary background. And as I said, my father was a literary person. He had written quite a few novels. Life of well-known personality Bhama Shah and Jaglu Shah, about the temples on Mount Abu. He has written very interesting books. So, of course, we took interest in all these literary activities, and I also, started writing right from the childhood. If I can add one or two more things on that, if you don't mind. I started writing it. My first poem was published when I was 12 years old. And I was writing some regular articles in one or two magazines. There was one Jain magazine called Sughosha. It was being published from Palitana. I was writing articles for Sughosha. Sometimes I was sending letters to editors, to Sandesh and Gujarat Samachar, and those newspapers, and they were publishing those letters. So that is how my interest developed. I started writing more and more, and this happened right from young age.
Amazing, Vinodbhai. I mean, just that I heard that you lost your mother at such an early age, and to take so much interest in reading the books and writing, it is amazing. And I'm really amazed that, sometimes when the mother is not there, it is very easy for a child to go on a wrong path or do something which is not right. But I suppose as we believe in probably it's from our last birth, you probably had that interest and you continued, which is amazing. Yes, I'm very impressed. So can you please describe what you studied, your profession, and more importantly, how did you meet Sudhaben?
Oh, yes, yeah. Actually, I studied civil engineering, but let me go back a bit. Before that, of course, I said I was studying in that little village, Chuda. After the independence, my father, of course, that kingdom was lost. That king wasn't king anymore. So father was transferred into nearby town called Limbdi. He became a revenue officer there. We all had to shift to that town. And I started studying in that town, Limbdi. It's a very good place. Yeah. And not only in Limbdi, then he was transferred to another place and another place, It was like a government job. You don't stay in one place all the time in India. You get transferred after a few years. So we moved from place to place. And my schooling was in Limbdi, in Valbipur, and in other places. Then after SSC, that is secondary standard education, I started my university course in Ahmedabad. And I was staying in a Jain boarding called Mavi Jain Vidyalaya. Very good place. Mahavir Jain Vidyalaya, best lodging and boarding facilities. So I was there. We met quite a good friends there. I made good friends there. A good place. I really enjoyed there. And 2 years I studied science, and then I took a course in civil engineering and became a civil engineer from the LD Engineering College, Ahmedabad. Now, about my wife Sudha. Right. Quite a few very nice memories. After my civil engineering, at some point we were living in Limbdi again. It was a rented house. We were staying downstairs in that rented property. The landlords were living upstairs. Sudha's parents brought Sudha in that house because the landlord and Sudha's parents were relatives. And her parents introduced me to her. I met Sudha. We liked each other. She's an educated girl. She takes keen interest in Gujarati literature and everything. So that was our first meeting. And we got married after about 9 months. Yeah.
Thank you, Vinodbhai. So then, when did you come to UK, Vinodbhai? And how was life then? Any different to what it is, especially in practicing Jainism?
Oh, the life was very much different than what it is now. I came to the UK in 1968. What happened during that time? There was some sort of craze amongst all collegians, college students, to go to a foreign country, study there, or work there, and see everything, new life, new country, new people. So I too was interested in going to America or England. Sudha's uncle suggested that I should go to England. He gave me a piece of paper. It was cut out from the newspaper. That cutting said that you can go to England, you can apply doctors and engineers can apply and get a work permit very easily. So Sudha's uncle told me that it's a good chance. Why don't you apply? You are an engineer. You will easily get work permit and you can go to England and see how the life is there. Maybe you can study more. Maybe you can go and do a work, do job. So I applied. Comparatively, it was very easy, very straightforward, because at that time, for engineers and doctors, it was quite easy. Within 2 or 3 months, I got an employment voucher, which allowed me to come here. So I came here at 1968. Life here was very much different. There are no Indian people here. Very few. I mean, when you go for shopping, you would hardly see any Indian face there. No Indian people. We didn't know what tehvar, what festival was coming. It was very difficult. No contact. It was difficult to phone India to our relatives. Hinaben, for 1 minute telephone call, at that time, it costed £1.50 for 1 minute. Imagine, more than 50 years ago. It was that difficult and that costly. So we could not afford phoning our relatives in India. And cold. It was very cold during that time, quite cold. Yeah. But I managed to find a job. I was supervising civil engineering contracts. The life was hard. And not only cold, that was one thing. But to get Indian vegetables, Indian company, and all these things, Indian atmosphere, very difficult. No one was there. One day, we heard an Indian film song. And I was so happy. Oh, it's something from India. You know, nowadays, you can hear anything on YouTube. There are so many Indian channels on our TVs. But at that time, life was completely different. Yes, and we worked very hard.
And so have you ever come across any dilemmas at that time, Vinodbhai, whether in professional or social time modes, or compared to, like, any dilemmas that you would like to talk about during that time?
Quite a few things, yeah. After coming over here, I thought that I must go back to India, Yeah, because life was quite difficult. It was very cold here. But on the other hand, we thought that, okay, now I am here. My wife has come here. And I had bought my own property, something like 17, 18 months after coming over here.
Mm-hmm.
So we had settled. But the dilemma was there, whether to go back or not. And there were quite a few other cases in life when you think, shall I do this or shall I not do this? But I hardly think about it now. Whatever has happened for good. It was God's will. That was all I can say.
So Vinodbhai, we go a little bit on to Jainism now. To what extent do you believe in reform in the rituals and rites as time moves compared to traditional school of thoughts? For example, we believe not to put the lights on during Pratikraman time or Samait time. I had an experience that there was a time when I went somewhere and they had put the light on, and there was this lady who was really against it, and she was telling everybody, you should not be doing this. But in this country, it gets dark so quickly. So what do we do? How do we do it?
Before I answer that, let me say something about my interest in Jainism, because that is quite important. As I said before, my parents were not very religious. I started learning Jainism, of course, when I was in Ahmedabad, when I was in Mavi Jain Vidyalaya. We had a very good teacher. He used to come every week and teach few good things about Jainism, and he was teaching sutras as well. But at that time, in Aben, we did not take much interest. We were busy in our college life, sometimes going to see good movies and other things, Yeah. But then after coming over here, of course, that Jain culture was there. I had read quite a few Jain books when I was a child. That culture was there, the background was there. So after coming over here, I had joined Jain Samaj Europe. They were building a temple in Leicester. Dr. Natubhai was president. So I joined in the committee. We had to go and attend the committee meetings every fortnight, every 15 days. That is how I started taking interest. And that is how I got involved in committee matters and community matters. That is the first step. After 2 or 3 years working in this committee, we thought that, it's too much. Going to Leicester maybe every week or every fortnight was too much for us. 4 or 5 of our friends, we founded our own organization. This is Mahavir Foundation. I'll talk about Mahavir Foundation a bit later on. But then I started taking interest in Jainism more and more. One day, we went to British Museum and I saw a copy of Kalpa Sutra displayed nicely in a casket, And my wife said that this is our holy book. So I thought that, I must read this book. I must know what is in it. And I inquired at quite a few places. And I came to know that there is a place in London called India Office Records and Library, which houses hundreds and hundreds of Jain manuscripts and Jain books. So what I did, I took 1 month's leave from my job, became a member of that institute, India Office Records and Library, and inquired everything about the Jain literature, Jain manuscripts, whatever they had preserved. And to my astonishment, there's a big treasure house in this country. Thousands of manuscripts, thousands of old books. And then, because I was a member, I was sitting there every day reading these books and started taking more and more interest. Then slowly had acquired quite a few books. Right now I've got more than 1,500 books on Jainism in my house. I stopped buying since last 8-10 years because there's no room now. And of course, facilities on Google and everything, facilities on e-libraries. That's so good that I'm not buying many books nowadays. But because of my interest and because of my literary background, I also started writing. So my first book was In Search of the Ultimate. I had translated good verses, some selected verses from Acharanga Sutra, Uttaradhyan Sutra, Sutra Krutanga Sutra, and some good passages, important passages from Kalpa Sutra. And I wrote my first book, In Search of the Ultimate. And that was published. And of course, I started writing about Jainism more and more and more. And so far I have published 21 books on Jainism. Something more, of course, I'll say later on about this thing. Now, my interest in Jainism, primarily, I'm interested in Jain literature. But because I'm involved with Mavi Foundation and other organizations, I have learned rituals as well. And I have performed many rituals, many pujans. But my outlook and my views on Jainism are quite clear. I have progressive minds. And I believe in whatever you can do according to the time and place you have to do. Samay pramane and sthar pramane. You mentioned about the lights during Pratikramana, right? So I know some people are very rigid. They say that you have to do exactly everything what people do in India. You can't change anything. And some people think that we have to change. We have to make changes in our ritual. We have to make changes in our what we eat and what we do not eat. So there are conflicting viewpoints. And I try to balance everything. On one hand, I have to please quite a few people. And on the other hand, I know the views of young people. I know what they think about Jainism, what they want from Jainism, and I try to keep balance. So the changes are coming, whether we like it or not. Quite a few people are using light nowadays. I've seen this in America. I've seen this in India. And as on the other hand, as I said, that some people say that no, you have to do pratikramana in darkness only. Well, that means you do not use any electric lights or anything, It's one kind of hinsa. So rather than giving a straightforward opinion, I would say that I try to keep a balance and I try to please people as per their needs. I know it's very difficult. You can't please all the people all the time, but still, I'm fortunate that I have made hundreds or perhaps thousands friends by balancing, by doing this balancing act.
Thank you very much, Vinodbhai. I'm quite amazed that you have read so many books and good, you remember everything. That is the important thing, that you grasp everything so quickly and you put things together so quickly. So really amazed. Next question, it is like you mentioned that you were quite involved with Mavi Foundation. So what compelled you to start Mavi Foundation? And can you please describe the journey, challenges and satisfaction of having a vibrant derasar in the vicinity of many Jains in North London, please?
This is quite interesting. After leaving Jain Samaj Europe, because I was a committee member there and I was regularly going to Leicester, of course, we thought that we must do something here in London. At that time, there were two big organizations, and of course, they are still very big organizations, Oswald Association and Navnath Vanik Association. There was no other organization. And myself and four friends, we thought that we must found an organization, a Jain organization here, which is neither Oswald nor Navnath. Because we thought, correct me if I'm wrong, that Oswald Association and Navnath Associations are somewhat they are caste-based organization. And we thought that we must have a pure Jain organization working under the name of Lord Mavi. And we will invite people from the Oswald Association, from the Navnath Vanik Association, everywhere, and we'll try to serve them. And that is how Mavi Foundation came into existence. Initially, it was very difficult. Nobody wanted to know us because there were clear-cut divisions. You are different. You are not Oswald, you are not Navnath. There was no room for us. It was very difficult, but we somehow managed it. And our temple on Kenton Road, of course, very fortunate to acquire this place. It's a vibrant place. It's the derasar, which everyone likes it. It's, what can I say? It was just a piece of luck. One day, it's very near to my house. One day, myself and my wife, we were going for an evening walk. We saw a detached property. There was a board for sale. I stopped for a minute and started thinking, oh, it is good property, detached house, nice white look. And somehow something inside me said that, Vinod, you must do a derasar here. And that is it. I inquired. The estate agent said, sorry, the property has gone. Everything is in advanced stage. And probably the new owner will come within 15 days and everything. So I said, just in case, if they don't buy, will you ring me? On a little piece of paper, I gave him my number to the estate agent. Generally, it so happens that they wouldn't keep, estate agents would probably lose that little piece of paper, but he kept it. After about a month, he rang me, said, Mr. Kapashi, this property is available. The man who was going to buy had some problems, he didn't buy it. Are you interested? So I said, yes, I can come and see now. So I saw the property. We decided to buy it there and then. And you know, this is a Jain temple now. Yeah. And we're lucky that we got a donor. They bought the property for us and gave it to us. It's on lease, of course. Only £10 per year. So we are very lucky. And property, this temple is being visited by so many people. It's so popular, and the vibrations are so good, so divine, you know. People really like this place. Yeah.
So a little bit more about that, derasar. Can you briefly describe the antiquity and the decision behind the murtis that we have installed there, Vinodbhai?
Yes, my wife Sudha had gone to India, and I had asked her that, could you go to Palitana? Because in that town, there are quite a few mountains. As you know, Satrunjay is the main place where we go for pilgrimage. Then there is a Kadambagiri Hills. On the Kadambagiri Hills, there are quite a few Jain Bhandar cellars. And in Bhandars, there are old murtis. So my wife and my brother's son, they went there. So Mavi Swami's Murti, Parshnath Bhagwan's Murti, Adinath Bhagwan's Murti, and they inquired that, can we take these murtis to England? We are not building, we are doing a temple there. The permission was granted, and we brought these 3 main murtis here. We didn't know that one of the murti was perhaps more than 1,000 years old. After these murtis arrived, some of the scholars and other people who have got good knowledge on history and how these murtis are made and everything, they told me, these scholars, that Parshnath Bhagwan's murti is more than 1,000 years old because of certain features and the way it is made. Mahavir Swami's murti is more than 300 years old, and Adinath Bhagwan's murti is perhaps not that old. So that is why, again, we are lucky that these Pratimaji, these murtis are very old, and it has got certain power and certain aura. You know? And especially after consecration ceremony and all these things, you can feel that. Yeah.
Definitely, it is very, very appealing, and you feel really privileged to be there. and to do the darshan. So on that, Vinodbhai, we have a little surprise for you from Sandeep Bhai. Sandeep Bhai?
Sandeep Bhai.
Jai Jinendra Vinodbhai. So as you are actually perfect timing, you're talking about the derasar and the wonder of the Kenton derasar, and so many thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, have visited. I've got a little stubborn for you, which I'm sure you'll know. When I started off at SCVP, we done a trip to the derasar. You'll remember many years ago, and you did say in also one of your lectures, there's nothing like bhakti as a Jain devotional spiritual way. So I'm going to sing, this is actually for you, but also for the derasar as well. And you'll know this song very well. Jagmag tatar lano derasar ho jo, એમાં મારા પ્રભુજીની પ્રતિમા હોજો. જગમગતા તારલાનો દેરાસર હોજો, એમાં મારા પ્રભુજીની પ્રતિમા હોજો. સુંદર સોહામણાની આંગી હોજો, જગમગતા તારલાનો દેરાસર હોજો, એમાં મારા પ્રભુજીની પ્રતિમા હોજો. અમે અમારા પ્રભુજીને મંદિરમાં પધરાવીશું, અમે અમારા પ્રભુજીને મંદિરમાં પધરાવીશું. મંદિર ના મળે તો અમે મનડામાં સજાવીશું, મનડાથી સુંદર ભાવ મારા ઓજો, એમાં મારા પ્રભુજીની પ્રતિમા હોજો. જગમગતા તારલાનો દેરાસર હોજો, એમાં મારા પ્રભુજીની પ્રતિમા હોજો. અમે અમારા પ્રભુજીને કેસરથી પૂજીશું, કેસર ના મળે તો અમે ચંદનથી પૂજીશું, ચંદનથી સુંદર કસ્તુરી હોજો, એમાં મારા પ્રભુજીને પ્રતિમા હોજો. જગમગતા તારલાનો દેરાસર હોજો, એમાં મારા પ્રભુજીની પ્રતિમા હોજો. અમે અમારા પ્રભુજીને ફૂલોથી વધાવીશું, ફૂલો ના મળે તો અમે કલીઓથી સજાવીશું, કલીઓથી સુંદર દમરો હોજો, એમાં મારા પ્રભુજીને પ્રતિમા હોજો. જગમગતા તારલાનો દેરાસર હોજો, એમાં મારા પ્રભુજીને પ્રતિમા હોજો. અમે અમારા પ્રભુજીને સોનાથી સજાવીશું, સોનું ના મળે તો અમે રૂપાથી સજાવીશું, રૂપાથી સુંદર હિરલા હોજો, એમાં મારા પ્રભુજીને પ્રતિમા હોજો. जगमगता तार लानो देरासर हो जो एमा मारा प्रभु जीनी प्रतिमा हो जो हमें हमारा प्रभु जी ने मंदिर मां पधरावीशु हमें हमारा प्रभु जी ने मंदिर मां पधरावीशु मंदिर मां पधरावी हमें हृदय मां पधरावीशु हृदय सीसासन बेसन हो जो एमा मारा प्रभु जी ने प्रतिमा हो जो जगमगता तार लानो देरासर हो जो एमा मारा प्रभु जी ने प्रतिमा हो जो सुंदर सुहामरानी आंगी हो जो जगमगता तार लानो देरासर हो जो एमा मारा प्रभु जी ने प्रतिमा हो जो जय जिनेन्द्र.
Thank you, Sandeepai. That was beautiful. That was lovely.
Very nice.
Nice, very nice. So, Vinodbhai, I would like to know, my next question would be, what will be your message for the young, especially as you have gone through the journey? Most young people will do the same, like follow study, career, family, and do practice our Jain philosophy. So what would you give the message to young Jains?
Jain Dharma, Jain religion is a beautiful religion. It's a scientific religion. It's perfectly logical. You know, the principles are quite full of good logic and everything. Try and understand. Read more and more about the Jain values. If you don't believe in rituals, doesn't matter. But Jainism has got a lot to offer in your professional life. Doesn't matter which career you are pursuing, you know, Jainism can guide you, can advise you at each and every step. So, always learn good scriptures, learn something what Mavi Swami has said, and try and interpret everything in your own way. There are so many scientific things which Jainism has taught us, you know. I was reading about the DNA and genes this morning, and how it relates to our karma. So interesting, you know, and a lot of other things. This parasparopagraho jivanam, life is interdependent. Amazing that more than 2000 years ago, our scripture Tattva Sutra has mentioned this. And nowadays, this thing is being mentioned by all environmentalists. When we talk about ecology and environment and compassion and everything, they say just one thing: all life is interdependent. We depend on each other. So Jainism has taught us these things, and we must realize it. And what we have to do is interpret this in our own way. That will help us very much. And that has helped me also very much. So for younger generation, this is my message, you know, here.
As we always say, it is quite scientific. Jainism is scientific religion, isn't it? The way we read it, the way we understand it, the more we understand it, it helps us more in our own life when we interpret in our own way. Yes?
Yes. Yeah.
So the next question I would like to ask Vinodbhai is, when you were awarded OBE by Her Majesty the Queen, what was your reaction? Did you get a chance to speak to the Queen?
Well, no, we didn't meet Queen. OBE was, of course, quite a pleasant surprise when I got a letter from the Cabinet Office, and the ceremony was very good. Prince Charles presented this award to me, and he talked to me for about a couple of minutes. He asked about the temple in Oswald Center because he had visited once, so he knew, and he immediately said that, "Are you associated with this Potter's Bar temple?" And I said, I know the people there. It's a beautiful, beautiful place, and it's a real big temple, really a big temple. But I'm associated with another organization in Kenton, and that is where I'm coming from. So we talked about Jainism for a while, yes. But of course, I always think that these awards are the byproducts. We should not work for any award. We should not think about any award. We should not think about man, Sanman, all these things, they come automatically if you are a right person, if you work hard, if you work very sincerely. Your real reward is satisfaction of other people. When I see Kenton Temple, I see so many people coming to the temple. They feel very happy there. They feel blessed. And that is my reward. That is the reward of not just myself, those who worked with me. We all did it together. It wasn't just me. So that is our reward. And I work for so many other organizations. I'm still a trustee of Navjivan Vadil Kendra, where we serve elderly and needy. Then I am a trustee in World Congress of Faiths. That's an interfaith organization. I'm also associated with many organizations, especially one Jain Institute of Jainology. They're doing marvelous work. And I always feel that in whatever way I can contribute, I'll feel happy. And this is my satisfaction, my reward. So all other rewards, I got quite a few, about 2 or 3 times lifetime achievement awards and OBE, all these things. But that's just the titles. Yeah. That doesn't really help in molding our life. What is inside you, what you have learned in your childhood and your sanskar, they teach us how to live your life. That is what I have learned. But I want to mention 1 or 2 other things. I don't know how much time we have got, but if I can.
Sure, continue, right?
Somehow, I always felt that God has helped me, or some unknown force, some divine beings or divine Pudgalas, they helped me. And I have noticed that right from my childhood. When I was 8 or 9 years old, I was miraculously saved. A bull was just about to attack me, just only a couple of inches from me. And that bull would have killed me within few seconds. And somehow that bull looked at me, looked into my eyes, and turned away. I was only 8 or 9 years old by then. And so many other things happened to me that I always think that somewhere, somehow, that there is a divine happenings, divine Pudgalas. They helped me. Purchasing this temple, that was also divine help. And there are quite a few things that I wouldn't mention all these things, but I don't know how. There is one instance I can say. I was in college in Ahmedabad. We 6 or 7 students used to go for a walk every evening after our meal in Mavi Vidyalaya. We used to go for a walk. About 6:30 in the evening. As soon as we start walking, there was next to Mavi Jain Vidyalay's building, there was another building, and next to that, there was another building. From that third building, a girl used to come out every evening. And as soon as we came to that place where we were walking, we passed to that place, the girl would come out, will give me, she was giving me a rose. I still do not know, still can't understand why she was doing it, why she was giving me a rose every day, every evening. What was the reason? Why to me only? And exactly at the same time. So there are quite a few things which, of course, we cannot understand. And I have seen this at so many times, so many places, and that's why I always think that there is something which science cannot explain, or normal logic cannot explain. These things do happen. Yeah. So what you were telling me about this OBE and all these things, these are small things. And our reward is seeing what we have done, what we have achieved. I always think that if I make one person vegetarian, that's the greatest reward, And I have made quite a few people vegetarian. Yeah, this is reward. If I teach someone about the good values of Jainism, this is our reward. So this is what I'm always, I'm in search of these rewards. I'm working for these rewards.
Amazing, amazing, Vinodbhai. But like you say, there is always that one power sometimes that really helps us, and it is hard to make out what that is. But when they say, like, if you do good karmas, in return, you are always going to get good. So amazing. One more question I would like to ask Vinodbhai. Do you have anyone you consider as your spiritual guru?
I must say, not any living person. My spiritual guru, of course, Lord Mahavir, Gautam Swami, and all good books. I got great respects for gurus who are living now, in different places in India and in here, and got great respect for them. But I haven't got any single guru right now. My books are my gurus. I can't say anything more than that. Yeah, of course, yeah. I met quite a few dignitaries in my life, and I've learned quite a lot from them. But I wouldn't say that this is the person I've learned everything from him. No, I cannot identify one single person. I met lots of persons, Hindu dignitaries, Jain dignitaries, or acharyas. Even sometimes you learn from other people. I've seen, President Abdul Kalam of India, late president, powerful personality, great philosopher, great scientist. And you learn quite a lot from these people. Yeah. I've seen Nelson Mandela. I've seen Dalai Lama and met him and talked to him. Quite a few people. And you learn quite a lot from them. Pope, Dada Bhagwan, our Jain acharyas, yeah. Sometimes, yeah. You learn from them.
Thank you, Vinodbhai. That's one last question I would like to ask is, what is your utmost desire or wish that you hope for?
Desire. Well, I would like to study more and more. And if time permits, I'll write few more books. But other than that, I'm quite happy. My wife has given me all the support which I can ask for. She's always with me. Wherever I go, she comes with me. Even in, say, I visited Parliament of Religions quite a few times in Chicago, Barcelona, Melbourne, Cape Town. She came with me always. She didn't say that it is boring, because for 6 days you go and hear all the lectures. But she stays with me, she takes interest, and we enjoy everything together. Yeah, that's the support she has given me. And I've got same sort of understandings and support from my daughters too. Yeah.
So can you tell us a little more about that Second World Religious Parliament that you attended, Vinodbhai, which took place after 100 years?
Oh, yes, yeah. Very briefly, I can say a lot more about it. But the first Parliament of Religions was held in 1893 in Chicago, where Swami Vivekananda attended and gave a world famous lecture, like saying brothers and sisters and all that. This is very famous and we all know about it. At that time, Jainism was represented by Virchand Raghavji Gandhi. That was in 1893. But after that, no parliament was held, Parliament of World Religions. That's what we mean. And in 1993, exactly 100 years after the first parliament, second event took place in Chicago, same place. I had attended that. I gave my lecture. There were quite a few parallel lectures. It wasn't like 1893 parliament. This was different, but I had attended that parliament. It was a very good experience. Again, we met lots of divine religious personalities and had good interaction with them. Then after that, of course, I had attended Parliament of World Religions in Barcelona, as I said, in Melbourne, in Cape Town, another place. But very good experience, yeah.
Thank you very much, Vinodbhai. I have endless questions to ask you because I know you have so much of knowledge, but with looking at the time, I think I will have to stop here. And I thank you so much for giving us so much insight And I would like the audience, if they have any question to ask Vinodbhai. You can unmute yourself and you can ask the question if you have any.
Seems there isn't any.
I think Varshaben's got a question.
Oh.
I think she's raised her hand.
May I just commend Vinodbhai that you have kept Jainism alive in Harrow through your years of work with Harrow Interfaith, that you were a visionary as a founding member of the interfaith organizations, and really, really commend your huge contribution in the area. So thank you very much.
And Varshaben, you also done the same thing. The
You are
past
the
president of Harrow Interfaith Council. Yeah, I must congratulate you for your work. You know, you have worked very hard. Yeah. Yeah, of course, I did my bit quite a few years ago. Yes.
Now you are the founder member, but it's you know, when you work with other faiths and really bring our religion better understanding, the syllabus that you did for the schools as member of Sakre, that religion, Jainism is taught in Harrow schools. With your knowledge and your literary, the contribution you made is really, really enormous. So we actually stand on your really broad shoulders, that you have given us such a good foundation to work from, and your enormous contribution. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words, Varshaben.
Okay. Thank you.
Very
Thank you.
much. I suppose there is no more questions. Varshaben, thank you very much for your input, and I know we can talk and talk about Vinodbhai, as I mentioned to begin with, that he has got so many qualities that we cannot stop talking, but with the time we have to. So I think Vinodbhai is going to say the ending prayer, please.
Yes.
Jitendrabhai, is that correct? Unmute yourself, Jitendrabhai. We can't hear you.
Sorry, Hinaben. Thank you, Hinaben, for conducting the interview today. Vinodbhai, it's been an absolute pleasure for giving us such an inspirational insight into your wonderful life over the years. I think we need part 2. In fact, if there's any inspiring budding artists here today, I think we should do a documentary on Vinodbhai. His life is so interesting that we need either a book or a documentary about you. I think it will help a lot of people. Today, I think we had quite a lot of people attend today, but I think the larger community need to know a lot more about Vinodbhai. So on behalf of Sri Chanda Vidyapith Committee trustees, we thank you for sharing your time with us today, Vinodbhai, and all the wonderful work you do for the community at large and for SAVP. So a big thank you to you from all of us. I think if everyone can unmute and give a big round of applause for Vinodbhai, please. Thank you so much, Vinodbhai. And like Hinaben said, can we hear your voice a little bit more? Could you kindly recite the Manglik for us before we do the announcements?
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words again. Somehow, after many years, first time I felt a little bit nervous to start with, because it was about me. And I thought, how will I start, and from which point onward I'll begin, and what shall I say, and all these things. But your support and your love has always helped me. And if I've said anything wrong, anything against the Jain principles, Michhami Dukadam, and the last prayer is Khamemi Savva Jive, Savve Jiva Khamantu Me, Mitti Me Savva Bhuyesu, Veram Majjana Kenai. Jai Jirendra, Savne Pranam.
Thank you so much, Vinodbhai, once again. So before we close, we have 2 announcements. Please do join us again next Friday to continue with our In Conversation talks. Pramit Bhai shared the poster. So Nitin Bhai, as we can see, is a 30-year-old engineer and a peace activist from Pune, India. Over 5 years, he's traveled through 46 countries, covering 40,000 kilometers of walking and cycling. Throughout, he's taught Gandhi's message on peace and non-violence to schools and public institutions. Nitin Bhai has literally walked the talk. You will hear stories about the people he has met, his views on the implications of non-violence in the world, and his connection with Jainism. So do join us again, 8:15 to 9:15 next Friday for this next In Conversation talk. The next thing we have is our foundation class. Our children have planned a tree planting event together with the Woodland Trust. So again, we hope you can join us. You will need to register for this. We have registration details with Pramit Bhai's phone number and Rita Ben's phone number. So do contact them if you would like to attend. Timings are 10:30 to 1:30. It will be a wonderful event, family event. You can bring the whole family. Fun as well as burning a lot of calories. So do join us for that if you are free. And that's it. I hope everybody enjoyed today's event. A big thank you to Vinodbhai, Shandip Bhai for singing that wonderful stuff, and Hina Ben for conducting the interview, and Pramit Bhai for the back end. And thank you to all of you for joining us and supporting us with our Friday SAVP Adult School class. Thank you to everyone.